Hi, it's Cam here, and it is time for the weekly Q&A. And I've got some really specific questions here right now, which I'm going to share with you. Now, if you're joining me for the first time, I'm the founder of Premier Property and an investor developer. And what the aim is here is to really answer your questions. And feel free to make some comments if you like. And if you've got any questions of yourselves that you would like answering, happy to help you with these as well to the best of our ability. So let's jump straight into the questions. And I've got a couple of questions here today, so nice, short and sharp answering here today. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you know that you can smash that bell icon and you can subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And these questions are from our Premier Property community. If you don't already know, just to mention, that's where these questions come from. And like I say, you're welcome to ask your questions, anything and everything. No silly question, and I will do my best to answer these for you. So one of the questions I've got here from our Premier Property community member is about title splits, and the question is really being asked is about excuse me, it's really about how do you deal with a title split in terms of, what do you need to do in terms of the practicality of it. So to answer this question, there's two parts of this. Now, really, it's a legal exercise. So if you've got a freehold property where you're splitting that title, it is a legal exercise, provided there's a communal area, provided you have your own services for each of the apartments, let's say. So an example I can give for one of our properties, which is a freehold property, we actually built that property, to be fair, and we then decided to split that into three parts. And when I say split that into three parts, we already, in that freehold, had, we already had three apartments in there already, with their own services, own communal area. So the physical part was actually already done. So what we did then at Premier is that we decided to get a solicitor on board that understood the legal process, understood how the conversions actually happen, how they work in legal format. So it's literally a paper exercise rather than a physical exercise. And what happened then was we got one of our solicitors involved who specializes in these types of projects where they are able to split that title. Typically, for an apartment with this was around 60 square meters, 3 apartments, all same footprint, to be fair. What happened? Well, 60 square meters, that was split up, and the actual investment for that, the expense, you're looking at around £1,200 there or thereabouts for getting something like that done by a professional. And that is, like I say, a legal exercise where you now, rather than having just one freehold, you now have a property that sits on a piece of land, which is the freehold that your company owns, and you've got, let's say 3 apartments like I'm sharing with you, and each one to actually create into a separate entity, that's £1,200. So around that sort of figure. So to create the freehold, it was around £2,800. That's the kind of figure that you'd expect to pay for a good service, and £1,200 for each apartment. So that's 3 times the £1,200. And what you've got now is a property with a 125-year lease, which you can refinance separately. You could sell it, you could buy it, someone can buy it. Many different things that you can done, but because you've made it flexible within those 3 elements, 3 parts. So that freehold becomes a 3-part title split. Hope I'm explaining this right. So, you've taken that property, and what you've actually done, in many cases, you add value. Sometimes it really does depend on the area. Sometimes you don't add an uplift, but you now have 3 separate incomes, and each one of those can be refinanced separately. So that's one advantage. And if your aim is to actually get an uplift, then you can also get an uplift in the right areas, whereby simply doing this exercise, paper exercise, to be fair, you can create these separate entities which, once valued separately, they have an uplift to that. So I hope that makes sense. So that's, I hope that answers your question as well. Just kind of shared with you a real life case study on how we've done it, and shared with you figures there as well, and just get the right solicitor to help you with this. Next question we've got here is, so if I understand the question correctly, the question being asked is, it's always off the cuff, by the way, you know me. So the question being asked here is, should you be buying buy-to-lets or should you be buying HMOs? There's one pot of investment, and what should you do? Right, okay. So the way we look at it at Premier Property is the key point is capital expenditure. What is the capex of what you need to invest in a buy-to-let, and what is the capital expenditure that you need to invest in a HMO? See, the thing that many people do when it comes to buy-to-lets and HMOs is that with HMOs, they're fixated on the income that they've got coming in, the rental that they've got coming in, but the key point that they actually miss, that's right in front of them, that they really need, is the fact that, well, how about the capital expenditure? So if you've got a property, let's say, where your capital expenditure, the figure we got here is 100k. So let's say your capital expenditure, for a HMO is 100k, and let's say that is achieving rent of £2,000 for you, and then you've got an opportunity to actually get four buy-to-lets, which actually achieve the same figure. Well then, in real terms, you're on a par, aren't you? Your capital expenditure that's gone into the property is the same. However, you got 4 units, and with the buy-to-lets and with the HMO, you've got 1 unit. So you could decide to take a view on the fact that, okay, ease of management, the HMO, the buy-to-lets, you've got 4 of them, so there's a bit more management going on, but yet they tend to have less voids. So you kind of, you can balance it out. But in terms of your capital expenditure, that would be exactly the same, right? However, how about if your 100k, gets you, you actually need 150k. Let's say you need more investment for the HMO, and yet you can still get the 4 buy-to-lets with that 100k. So you put more capital expenditure in. Now, in this situation, your income that you're actually getting in total from the portfolio of buy-to-lets or the HMO, you might find that you're getting more income from the buy-to-lets, and on top of this, you've actually designated more capital to that HMO. So in real terms, although it looks like one property is giving you more money, more income, actually it's the capital expenditure that you put in that you've got to be thinking about, and actually it's the smaller properties, when you put them together, that are actually driving more income for you. So do be thinking about capital expenditure versus income. What is it that you're actually putting in to actually achieve the result that you're getting? What is your, the way we measure this, of course, is cash on cash return. So what is your return on the cash that you've actually deployed? You can measure yields, gross yields, net yields. Now, if you're not familiar with this, we can go through this in another video. However, the key number that you really want to be assessing is the capital expenditure, your cash on cash return. You put money in, how much money are you getting back? You've got money in a bank account, it's earning an interest rate. When you put it in property, how good is that cash return on it? And at Premier Property, every single deal that we do, the aim is always to get it at infinite when it comes to cash on cash return within a time period. So hope you enjoyed this short, sharp session today about your questions here. And like I say, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. And you can click on the subscribe icon and click on the bell icon to make sure that you're part of our community. And I will see you on the next video. It's Kam Dovedi helping you to take your property investing to the next level. Feel free to ask your questions for next week, and I'll see you soon.